New Yalu River Bridge, Dandong Sinwiju, China, North Korea. A multi-span cable-stayed bridge across the Yalu River was completed on the Chinese side in 2014 with connecting roads and, more recently, marked lanes and a new customs area. North Korea's connecting roads and border facilities lagged for years, so the crossings remained unopened to regular traffic despite recurring signs of impending activation. As built, the structure is a full-size international highway bridge that carries no routine vehicles, a textbook example of an asset finished in engineering terms, but not serving its cross-border trade purpose due to missing downstream systems and coordination. Athens 2004 Olympic Canoe Kayak Slalom Center, Hellenikon, Greece. Engineered as a pumped-flow whitewater facility with recirculation, high-power pumps, and precise course shaping, the venue delivered elite competition conditions for the games. Afterward, high fixed power and water costs and limited local demand made regular operation uneconomic. Without a sustainable post-games program, the site cycled through closures and minimal use. The specialized nature of the facility makes low-cost repurposing difficult. So much of the year it remains idle, incurring upkeep without delivering sport or recreation at the intended scale. Zwentendorf Nuclear Power Plant, Lower Austria, Austria. An approximately 700-megawatt electrical boiling water reactor, or BWR, water boils inside the reactor vessel and the resulting steam drives the turbine directly, was fully constructed in the 1970s, systems installed, and pre-start checks completed. Immediately before startup, a binding national referendum on November 5, 1978, rejected nuclear power, and a subsequent law barred operation. The plant was therefore complete but never fueled, never synchronized to the grid, and never generated electricity. Today it's used for training, research access, and small on-site solar, but none of these functions deliver the capacity the plant was built to provide. The core purpose, commercial power, was never served. Hotel El Algarrobico, Carboneras, Almeria, Spain. A 20-plus story, approximately 400-room beachfront hotel structure was built to near operational readiness in the Cabo de Gata Nijar Natural Park. Courts later deemed the siting illegal under coastal and environmental protections, freezing permits. The buildings never opened to guests and remain sealed, with periodic security and weatherproofing to slow decay. Recent expropriation and demolition moves have advanced, but until removed or lawfully repurposed, the completed tower is a stranded hospitality asset, finished externally, never used for lodging, and functionally useless for its intended tourism capacity. Anchor Dam, Wyoming, USA. The Bureau of Reclamation completed this 208-foot concrete arch dam in Wyoming in 1960 to irrigate the Owl Creek Basin. The reservoir repeatedly drained through sinkholes and permeable bedrock. Decades of plugging efforts failed. The dam cannot store significant water, so it never delivered its designed irrigation benefits, an expensive piece of finished hydraulic infrastructure that doesn't perform its core job. Cincinnati Subway, Ohio, USA. Engineers built twin cut-and-cover tunnels beneath what is now Central Parkway, station boxes, and portals intended for an electric rapid transit line to relieve street congestion. Post-World War I inflation eroded bond proceeds, construction costs outpaced available funding, and political priorities shifted to road building just as the automobile rose. Without money for track, power, or signaling, works were sealed to stabilize the structures and protect adjacent utilities. The tunnels have since hosted utility lines and periodic inspections, but never carried paying passengers. Because the geometry, clearances, and egress standards reflect a 1920s design, any reuse would require modern safety systems and major reconstruction that exceed the benefit case. The built assets thus remain inert transit infrastructure, structurally present yet functionally absent, demonstrating how incomplete systems become expensive to maintain while delivering none of their intended mobility benefits. SNR 300 Fast Breeder Reactor, Kalkar, North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. A prototype 300-megawatt electric sodium-cooled fast breeder reactor, designed to breed more fossil fuel than it consumes, reached physical completion in the 1980s, including reactor systems, cooling circuits, and ancillary plant. Mounting protests, regulatory scrutiny, and policy shifts prevented fuel loading and startup. The plant never went online. The site was later converted into the Wonderland Kalkar amusement complex, including a ride inside the former cooling tower. As energy infrastructure, it delivered no electricity and produced no breeder data at commercial scale. Its engineered core purpose remained unused despite full build-out. Porte de Lilas, Station Cinéma, Paris, France. A fully fitted pair of platforms on an unused short loop at Porte de Lilas was kept intact, but never opened to passengers. RATP designates it exclusively for film and advertising shoots to avoid disrupting normal stations. The site's hosted major productions for decades, yet as public transport, it's delivered zero passenger service. Complete metro infrastructure whose sole ongoing function is as a controlled movie set rather than the urban mobility it was built to provide. Città dello Sport, Tor Vergata, Rome, Italy. 2 Calatrava-designed venues, a main arena and natatorium with complex steel space frames, were commissioned to anchor a new sports campus. Budgets overran, funding tranches slipped, and municipal priorities changed. Work stopped with major structures incomplete and exposed. The skeletal frames require security and corrosion control but host no events. Without a funded completion plan or a scaled-down adaptive reuse, the project remains a high-maintenance monument to cost and scope drift, delivering none of the anticipated athletic or community functions. William H. Zimmer, originally Zimmer Nuclear Power Station, Ohio, USA. Conceived as a large nuclear station on the Ohio River, the project reached about 97% completion when pervasive construction quality failures and regulatory findings blocked licensing. The owners abandoned the nuclear configuration and converted the nearly finished plant into a coal-fired station that began operation in 1991. The nuclear facility, though effectively complete, never performed its intended nuclear function. All subsequent electricity came from a different technology after costly rework. As a nuclear megaproject, it was finished enough to test systems, but never served its original purpose. Lungmen Nuclear Power Plant, New Taipei, Taiwan. Unit 1 of the Lungmen Advanced Boiling Water Reactor reached physical completion and was then mothballed in 2015. Unit 2's construction was frozen. Fuel was removed from Unit 1 in 2018, and multiple government decisions and referendums since have ruled out commissioning. The plant's never generated electricity for the grid. Its buildings and installed systems exist without an operating license, making it a finished industrial complex that's never done the job it was built for. The present uselessness is policy-driven rather than technical. The hardware stands ready in principle, but law and politics keep it idle. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Don Quixote, Spain. Built with a 4.1-kilometer runway and long-range ambitions to relieve Madrid's main airport and attract high-speed rail-connected traffic, opened in 2008 just as the financial crisis hit, with low airline demand and poor catchment economics. The operator went bankrupt, and passenger service ceased. The facility later reopened mainly for aircraft storage and limited cargo. Scheduled passenger use remains negligible relative to capacity. Lullingstone Railway Station, UK. Southern Railway built the mainline platforms and concrete station buildings in the late 1930s to serve a proposed London satellite town and an associated Lullingstone airport. World War II stopped the launch, and post-war Green Belt policy killed the housing plan. The station appeared in timetables with opening date to be announced, but it never opened. The buildings were demolished in 1955, and only platform bases and access road remain. Finished platforms that never took a single passenger. Shoreham Nuclear Power Plant, Long Island, USA. An approximately 820-megawatt electrical BWR was completed and granted only low power, equal to about 5% test authorization. Suffolk County refused to certify an evacuation plan for the dense suburbs within the 10-mile emergency planning zone, and New York State declined to approve any utility proposed plan. Without a credible evacuation basis, a full power license was unobtainable. Shoreham never sold electricity, was decommissioned shortly after completion, and later the site was reused for small gas turbines and, more recently, approved battery storage, uses that don't recover the sunk cost or fulfill the original baseload role. The nuclear station's primary function was never realized. Grande Hotel San Calogero, Rialmonte, Sicily, Italy. A roughly 300-room hilltop spa hotel near the San Calogero Basilica was built, renovated multiple times, and even inaugurated on more than one occasion, but it never accepted a single paying guest. Management disputes, missing drainage connections, and funding permit mismatches left a finished-looking complex shut behind locked doors. The structure's masonry, rooms, and public areas exist. The hospitality function, beds sold, nights stayed, never happened. Elisenberg Station, Oslo Tunnel, Norway. During construction of the Oslo Rail Tunnel, 1971 to 1980, a 220-meter center platform and parts of the accessway were built for Elisenberg. Funding and priorities shifted. National Theatre was expanded instead, and rail authorities later confirmed Elisenberg will not be opened. It's a completed platform with no passengers ever served, physical infrastructure with zero transport value. Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, Marang, Philippines. A 621-megawatt electrical Westinghouse pressurized water reactor, or PWR, primary water loop kept under high pressure so it doesn't boil, heat transfers to a separate loop that makes steam, was physically completed in the mid-1980s with reactor systems, turbine hall, and grid interconnection. After 3 Mile Island and then Chernobyl, safety requirements tightened. Corruption allegations and site risk debates escalated, and the new government decided not to commission. The plant was never fueled and never operated, and now functions as a preserved industrial site for training and guided tours, incurring maintenance and security costs while supplying zero grid power. The intended purpose, baseload generation, has remained unmet since completion. Ryugyong Hotel, Pyongyang, North Korea. A 330-meter, 105-story pyramid-shaped hotel began in 1987 to showcase modern engineering and tourism capacity. The concrete frame and outer geometry were completed quickly, but the 1990s economic crisis halted work before installation of windows, utilities, elevators, and interiors. Work sporadically resumed decades later to add a glass facade and exterior LED panels. The building's shell remains the same core, no verified, continuous public hotel operation, and no stable interior fit-out suitable for guests. The project's present status is an illuminated landmark without a functioning hospitality program, no steady bookings, no open rooms, and no revenue stream that matches its size. The factors leading here were financing collapse, technology supply gaps, and shifting political priorities that stalled mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, the MEP backbone any tower needs. The result is a skyscraper-sized cost center, weatherproofed and visually active at night, but economically idle. Kymlinge Station, Stockholm Metro, Sweden. SL built the structural station on the Blue Line in the 1970s to serve a planned office district that was subsequently rejected to preserve green space. The shell and platform exist, trains run through, but no trains stop and no access was ever commissioned. Kymlinge remains a fully built ghost station that never opened. Duddeston Viaduct, UK. Built in 1846 to connect rival railways into Birmingham's New Street, the masonry viaduct was completed but never connected to the running lines because of intercompany politics. It stood for more than a century without ever carrying a scheduled train, an entirely finished rail structure with no transport function. Cross Florida Barge Canal locks, USA. By 1971, multiple navigation works, locks, dams, and excavated reaches were completed on a 107-mile canal intended to carry commercial barge traffic across Florida. President Nixon halted the project for environmental reasons. Congress later deauthorized it. Finished locks like Buckman Inglis never saw commercial barge service, leaving navigation hardware that never served its intended purpose. Hack Station, Paris Metro, France. RATP built Hacks in 1921 as an in-between station on a transfer tunnel meant to connect lines 3 and 7, now 3 BIS and 7 BIS. The platforms exist and trains can technically pass, but there's no street access, and the operational plan that would have used it was abandoned. Hacks has never carried paying passengers. It's a complete but inaccessible halt, built to function but functionally useless. Anchor Dam, Owl Creek Basin, Wyoming, USA. A 63-meter, or about 208-foot concrete arch dam finished in 1960 was intended to impound irrigation storage. Instead, karstic leakage and sinkholes in the reservoir bed repeatedly drained the pool. Decades of grouting and backfill attempts failed to create a reliable water body. The dam remains as built, standing above a mostly empty basin, permanent hydraulic infrastructure that never delivered its designed irrigation or water supply benefits. Kwu Tung Station Box, MTR East Rail, Hong Kong. During the construction of the Lok Ma Chau spur line, early 2000s, engineers built the underground station box and side structures at Kwu Tung. When the spur opened in 2007, trains ran through without stopping because the station was left unfinished and unopened. Only in 2023 did full works commence to complete the station for a planned 2027 opening as Phase 1 of the Northern Link. For 2 decades, a structurally prepared station lay in place but served no boarding or alighting, finished civil works that did not perform their passenger function.